Hello everyone, it's the 10th of February 2025. I hope you're doing really well. I'm Gary Waterman, a former UK Police Constable. Welcome to part 2 of my evidence and exposure in relation to international fraud via the Rapid Response Team. I'm just going to show you some information or messages from Mikey P. I've shown a screenshot of this, but this is one that he sent the other day, and it says 2024, how convenient. And this mother, I'm not going to say the word, as you know, has other very shady company history supplying the bioweapon to care homes and more. If you have any more info on this SHIT back, actually linking him to Rapid Response, please do share. We'll be digging rather deep on this, so let's see who he's linked to. So what they're now doing is they are panicking. This is the screenshot. Because I'm exposing them, they're coming in and backtracking, trying to make it look as though they're now seeing the corruption within the Companies House records. Now, they have had months to do this. Rapid Response blocked me. They refused for me to assist them in their unlawful evictions and helping those poor people in those houses, even though there was very clear evidence of illegal fraudulent bailiffs, fraudulent debt companies, fraudulent mortgage companies, fraudulent banks, and they refused to assist and just blocked me out. And then Mikey P decided to target me recently, okay, which has now triggered this. And you will see the exposure that has now assisted, exposing police officers, going back to my wife's family, etc. So this is the image that he sent of Companies House where he was trying to backtrack. Now the real test now will be, will Rapid Response now use this evidence publicly to assist them in helping the people being unlawfully evicted? So will they use the evidence which is there to assist them to expose the corrupt, fraudulent entity bailiffs, debt companies, mortgage companies, banks, councils, all involved in these evictions, because it is all criminal and unlawful because of this forgery. Let's see what they do now. And just going back to a screenshot of the correspondence between Mikey P and I, let me zoom out so you can see it. Here it is. And he's making veiled threats to come and find me. Okay? Don't tell me where you are. It'll be more fun. I then today find out that Mikey P has also contacted somebody who I thought I could trust called Steve or Dan Dyer. And he tries defending Mikey P, saying, I think he believes he's been duped. He's been led down the garden path. So this is some correspondence between Steve and I. put, wake up, Steve. Oh dear, Steve, you are defending too many who are clearly compromised. This included Rangi Latif, who he was friends with, and he also had Mikey P on a Rapid Response group on Telegram, which I questioned. But he's been defending everybody that I've had the evidence on, trying to get me to give them another chance, even though they've had months. And I've put that here. They've had months, and only when they are exposed, wake up, Steve. Oh dear. He then tries to defend him even further. I put, oh dear, Steve. Looking at page 19 of the document that I've already mentioned in part 1 of this video, I'm just going to refresh your memory because this becomes important. So we reached a link to Offshore Company Management Limited, which was incorporated not long after the World Trade Center disaster. We're going to come to that soon. And at the end of part 1, we reached SRLV LLP, which is on page 28 of the document. This document is now being circulated worldwide. We have a company here, Osiris Egypt Holdings Limited. Now remember, there's been many connections through to the Egyptian side of things, shall we say, Egyptian god side of things. And here's another example of that. And there was a Pharaohan movement, according to the research that I've done, in the 1920s to 30s, potentially all linking into this. And of course, the Egyptians were all about slavery, if you research them, according to the research. But also, so we're within SRLV LLP. And on the right here, you can see burger companies. NM Burger, there's loads of them. I've only just shown some of them. Here's one of them here, NM Burger OPS 103. These are just screenshots taken from the Companies House records. Please go and verify this evidence and information to see that it is true. And you can see that this company dissolved as I'm exposing the fraud in July 2023 on the left there. So I've highlighted sections. You don't have to believe me, everybody. Go and verify the evidence to see the truth. If you don't believe, you don't have to trust me. But I can assure you, I only work for our creator. There's nobody left for me to work for. I'm putting everything at stake. Okay, here's loads of burger companies. And then we hit within the same company, SRLV LLP, David Beckham Limited. All right, we're going to look at David Beckham Limited. It was incorporated in May 2000, the year before the World Trade Center disaster. And it is linked to the fraud via ICC company formations that has already been connected to Robert Maxwell. And here, bearing in mind, we've got burgers very closely linked. David Beckham spearheaded a new Burger King campaign in 2012, according to this Daily Mail article. Now, I had already made connections to Burger King and to McDonald's, and I'm going to show you some of that evidence now. So here was my a screenshot taken from my document, the 5G mast, which was a mast overlooking Fort William in Scotland, and I got company names from the equipment on that mast, and this is part of that document. You can see Fleming links, Stonehenge, almost says Stonehenge, doesn't it? And I found out recently that JP Morgan, that the Flemings are heavily linked to, were involved in archaeology of Stonehenge and of the Egyptian pyramids. So we'll continue looking at the 5G mast because I want to show you the burger connections. Just to confirm again, the Fleming connection, Valentine Fleming, who lived in Scotland, JP Morgan, that I've just mentioned. And then so that's on page 13 of the document. And then on page 20, as the evidence flows, you then hit McDonald's Real Estates, Spirit Acquisition. This is interesting because we are, without a doubt, talking a spiritual war going on here. Good between evil, and they're telling us, okay? And I'm going to present a theory with all of this in my next document, which will be a chronological evidential research document going back quite a long time and explaining what I think is really happening with all of this. But then you have, so McDonald's Real Estate flowing through the evidence. And these documents are all available to anybody. Then it goes into McDonald's restaurants, just to confirm it does tie into burgers. Is McDonald's restaurant created in 1971, the same year as the World Economic Forum, everybody. That's very important. We're going to come to that in a minute. World Economic Forum. McDonald's, Ronald McDonald's house. So these are just screenshots taken from my other document. And from the 5G mast, very, very quickly it reached McDonald's after I took the 5G company names that linked into military weapons potentially having been integrated, or at least if they're not, we're now being led to believe that there are, and we're going to come to that in my theory. So we've got 5G mast, then we have McDonald's, and then just to confirm, Burger King Limited. Okay, remember what we just said about David Beckham. Okay, so now we have Burger King Limited within the same director, okay, as I've researched here. So it links McDonald's to Burger King. Now let's look at the Jeffrey Epstein research, international child trafficking. Okay, and these are just some of the pages. So just wanted to show here that there's a weapons company, Raytheon, which I've already mentioned in part 1 of this video. Then you have Victoria's Secret Limited. Okay, this is on page 40 of my Jeffrey Epstein research. Victoria's Secret Limited. Then you have CAPB Limited. For those of you who follow my evidence, you'll know that links to the Flemings. So this is all from Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, research of Jeffrey Epstein. CAPB Limited, on the incorporation document, it has Fleming Company as its first name. Started in 1932. Okay, and then changed its name in July 2001, the same month that Larry Silverstein purchased the lease for the World Trade Center building. And here we are, just to confirm again, Ronald McDonald House, linking to Jeffrey Epstein and Coca-Cola on page 58. And Jeffrey Epstein document, we've come in from Victoria's Secrets. Okay, and you can see it there again, Victoria's Secret Limited. Links to Abercrombie and Fitch Design. Well, on the same document, an article I'd already acquired says here that BBC says FBI investigating former Abercrombie and Fitch CEO for alleged sex trafficking ring. This is an article from, I can't read the date, 2024. And there's Abercrombie and Fitch linking in to the research from Victoria's Secret, linking into McDonald's, linking into Burger King, and of course, David Beckham having done a commercial. And we now see David Beckham companies. On the same document, bear with me, is it the same document? No, now we come to the Iona prophecy, okay? So I suspect a false apocalyptic deception linking into Iona. And we have Outward Bound on there. Well, that's Jimmy Savile is linked to that organisation. And this is just showing some of the research. And on a company that I found linking to that, the House at Glasgow Children's Hospital, you'll see they changed the name here. Can you see it in the middle? The middle line there within that box, it was called Ronald McDonald House, Glasgow. And they changed its name in 2024 as they realised I was exposing McDonald's. On the same document, I mentioned the Red Shoe Society linking into McDonald's and tying into the Vatican with pictures of the red shoes on the Vatican. And many of you have hopefully seen this picture of Madeleine McCann's father appearing to be with Tony Podesta, all wearing red shoes, okay? A deception, the clown. I had a dream that the clown was a huge deception upon humanity, signifying the evil with the good, working together with the Church of England and the Freemasons working together as a deception against humanity, leading up to a biblical, false, deceptive, apocalyptic event. But I'm going to come to more detail in that in another video. We also again have Spirit Europe Limited. Bearing in mind we're talking about a spiritual warfare, and that was in the Iona document that I've done. Now, I released my evidence. This is showing a screenshot from my Telegram channel. You can see it's January the 8th. And I start releasing information in relation to the connection to the international government fraud and the attacks in Israel on the 7th of October 2023. This is just showing me releasing that information. And then I publicised my document. Okay, and you can see that's started to be publicised, part 1, on the 12th of January. And the reason I did that is because Donald Trump was making very worrying claims that if the Hamas hostages are not returned prior to him becoming the president, all hell will break loose, and not just for Hamas. So I suspect that was potentially going to lead up to an apocalypse, a nuclear war linking into a falsified apocalyptic event tying into the evidence and the situation. I actually believe we're on 2 timelines, okay? They're trying to decide which timeline to go with because they're panicking. So one timeline, which evidence I'm going to publicise later, is the 7-year tribulation starting in 2018 and ending this year, which means that I suspect they may stage a false apocalyptic event this year. The second timeline is from 2025 this year to 2032, which is 7 years, 7-year tribulation, tying in with potentially with a multitude of deceptions they may choose. And it appears as though they're trying to tie it in with an asteroid strike, which they're now publicising on mainstream news. So here's the Israel attacks evidence, and you can see on page 29 of the document it mentioned the Spice Girls Limited. Bearing in mind we're talking about David Beckham, so I publicised this, and then within a few days of that evidence, on the 20th of January, okay, the day that Donald Trump becomes the president, David Beckham urges the World Economic Forum to fight, and he becomes an ambassador for UNICEF and for children. Bearing in mind, we're talking international child trafficking linking into all of this. Victoria's Secret. Some other evidence that I've recently acquired, which I'm going to be verifying, is that McDonald's is tying in heavily with the artificial intelligence, and therefore very likely Donald Trump's recent announcement of the Stargate Project Limited. And you're going to see more evidence on that in my next document. Within SRLV, LLP, we have more. I'm just showing you some more relevant companies. Neat Meat Burger Company. Bearing in mind we're talking about burgers and poor children, I'll let you come to your own thoughts on what that may mean. We've also got A&E International. accident and emergency. Remember, the NHS are massively involved in this. All government organisations are compromised by this, and this company dissolved in 2024 as I'm exposing the fraud. On the incorporation document, Stanley Davis Group Limited, which those of you who followed my evidence will know that that links to the international fraud and child trafficking massively. On a little side note here, just SRLV, it was quite interesting seeing what else that may refer to, because they don't always give the correct subject for the company. They try hiding it in a different subject. So here we have SRLV comes up for Marston Space Systems, and NASA linking in. Okay, remember, international governments and weapons company and space exploration and aerospace companies are massively linked throughout this international government fraud. A huge deception upon humanity. And here we are within that article. SRLV relates to reusable launch vehicle, and it was I'm not even going to pronounce that. The Aero, don't know. Reusable launch vehicle was a vertical takeoff, vertical landing rocket, which was being developed by Marston in 2010 to 2011. It was proposed to NASA as a potential suborbital reusable launch vehicle. Now, bearing in mind, Elon Musk and Donald Trump are all involved in this, and we know that they're involved in space exploration. On the incorporation document for SRLV, you have an address which features in the fraud, Bond Street. We're going to come, bearing in mind, we've already had some James Bond connotations further up. Now, we're within SRLV LLP company, and we're looking in the people record on the right here, and you can see Gavin Lenthal. And Gavin was born the year after the World Economic Forum, according to this. Now, I suspect they have deliberately allowed a trail of evidence for the right person at the right time to actually come on along and expose all of this. And it appears as though I am that person. And that has triggered a massive deception against humanity, tying into biblical scripture events, which I'm going to come into, as I've said. But within this person's record, Gavin Lenthal, he links to Tamar Films, which features throughout the fraud. When you go into Tamar Films, you then have Fleet Film Partners at 1. When you look at them, you'll see they're linked to the international fraudulent address of 788 790 Finchley Road. If that my memory serves me correctly, I haven't looked at it on here because I can't look at everything because it's too time consuming. But that has featured before. And if you search Finchley Road fraud, you'll see that 788 790 Finchley Road features. And we're going to come to that later in this document anyway. So within Tamar Films, this person on the right links to, those who follow my evidence will know that Ingenious Film Partners links Hollywood to all of this. Well, here we are again. We have another link to Ingenious Film Partners. Moving on, Tamar Films. We then have Crown Agents Bank Limited. Crown Agents have featured before. Connotations to the royal family. Massively implicated in this, guys. The royal family. I suspect the Queen Elizabeth and the King are fake King and Queen. Well, fake King and Queen in relation to the stone not being used as Stone of Destiny. We're going to come more to that later. And you can see Jordan's on the incorporation document. Those that follow my evidence will know that Jordan's is now Vistra, and Vistra is a fraudulent entity company. So if you search Vistra Limited, you'll see that the incorporation document actually has, I've forgotten what it is now, Hammerplag Limited on it. Well, that's not on the overview. It's never been registered lawfully, and therefore it's a criminal organisation, fraudulent. And the Crown Agents had featured already in my research for Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole Council, where this all started for me within Exbourne Manor, where I was a director, and I was removed for refusing to file forged bank documents, refusing to commit a serious crime, so they removed me, and we're going to come to that more in this document. Now, bearing in mind what I've just told you about that company, the overseas account or offshore account, now I'm going to show you how it links into my family, my adoptive dad's adoptive family, I believe, in Kent. Now, those of you need to understand what importance this holds, because I transferred from Kent Police to Dorset in 2006. I had absolutely no connections down there whatsoever. I didn't know anybody, and I transferred down there. Okay, it was about 3.5 hours away, and yet here we are. I now find very quick links to very important companies via my dad's adoptive family, who had associations with the Kray twins. Okay, now I'm now starting to acquire evidence and information in relation to the Kray twins and how that all links in with this. But here we are, MK Ultra. This is just showing the research and how it linked to my family. Now, those of you who don't know what MK Ultra is, it was experimental techniques on the masses, according to the research, without their consent, which included all sorts of things, including torture techniques, including mind control to see if they could get people to carry out assassinations against their will, suicides, etc., etc., etc. So I searched the MK Ultra side of things some time ago, and here we are, just to show that I'm searching it. MK Search Company's house, okay, because it changed its name from MK Ultra when you research it to MK Search. Now, not only did it link to David Cameron, okay, it also then linked to MK Search. And you can see on the left here, whilst we're on this screenshot, this is just a screenshot taken from that document that I've already got, which you can have. You can see this document. It's under the police, MK Ultra and police and radio threat. Okay, where I believe the radio systems being used by the military and the police are at risk as a result of all of this, and they are at risk of being targeting. You can see on the left there, linked to Nicola Bulley, just about, it's a bit blurred. So that was coming in from MK Search, and it linked to David Cameron, and then tied into the research I'd already done on Nicola Bulley, who was the poor lady that went missing in along the river in Lancashire, which then ties back in with the potential murder of the real heirs to the throne. But we're going to come to that later. Let's focus on this. So MK Search, when you search it, Companies House, it comes up with MK Limited. And this had an address in Rochester. Here's MK Limited. Now, that is where I was living with my father, okay? After my mum and dad separated when I was about 11. So we have a Rochester link, and then there's a Fleming connected to that company, David John Fleming. Remember, the Flemings removed me as a director. I'm not saying they are related, but there's a Fleming name. And then that Fleming person connects then to Gillingham Masonic Club Company Limited, a Masonic, Freemasons, okay? They're in control of all of this system. They are massively behind this, working with religious establishments. So when you go into the Gillingham Masonic Club, this is in Kent, and it's right near where I was living with my father. It's a fraudulent entity company, which you can't see from me because it's a bit blurry. But when you go into the Masonic company, there's a link to my school that I used to go to when I was living with my father, the Thomas Aveling School, okay, in Rochester. So I went there. I can't remember how old I was when I first went there because I went to 3 different secondary schools. But I stayed there until I did my A-levels. So I would have been about 18 at the time. Anyway, when you go in further from that school, from the school research, you can see on the right hand the Thomas Aveling School just in the top of the tab there. Paul Kerr links to Waterman Companies. All right. Now, my surname's Waterman, and we have Ernest Joseph Waterman and a Waterman Offshore Company. Further research into that linked to people on the incorporation document that I suspect are linked to my father's adoptive family. And here's Waterman Offshore on the left. And then on the right, it goes into Heliarch Technology and LAS partnership, you can see there. So this is all linked through, evidentially flowing. Remember, there's over 5 million companies, and we're very, very close from MK Search to my family. I then find out more recently that the year I'm born in 1977, bearing in mind we've just been talking about MK Ultra, 20,000 documents were declassified in 1977, the same year I was born, and those documents pertain to MK Ultra program, the MK Ultra program. I suspect this is all tying in to me having been positioned by our creator in relation to all of this. So you can't read it, but it links to the 788, 790 Finchley Road that I'll mention later. And here's LAS Partnership Limited. and it was incorporated in 2012. Now, 2012 is the same year that the CERN Hadron Collider discovered the Higgs boson, okay, or the God particle, according to the research. Go and have a look at it. The CERN Hadron Collider and the Higgs boson, or God particle. That was 2012. On the incorporation document, you have QA Nominees Limited, which I'd seen before. But further down within LAS Partnership, the partnership company, we have the same director that had linked to Rapid Response earlier. Okay, Graham Michael Cohen, with 5,776 companies on the right. And just to confirm, when you go in, here's the company again, the Offshore Company Management Limited. Now that makes a connection from Kent, where I was born, to Dorset, where I ended up marrying. And it links my family to my wife's family, even though there was no connection in my mind at all. I had no idea. I knew nobody down there, and I transferred down with the police. And you'll see lots of other pretty incredible evidence coming up in this document. And hopefully you will all realise that I am positioned here to try to save everybody in this, and especially the children. So going back to Rapid Response, this is another Rapid Response company on the right here, Rapid Response Ltd, incorporated in 2024. So this is the one that I believe Mikey P has highlighted. So 2024, as I'm exposing the fraud, they create this company. And you can see it links to Boothby Healthcare. And someone was appointed, Kieran Boothby was appointed in 2023 as I'm exposing the fraud. And here's Boothby Healthcare. And it dissolved in 2024. They started it in January. You can see on the bottom, on the right hand side there. That is when in 2023, so the inquiries within my company started in 2022, and then they created this company and then dissolved it as I continued my exposure. And then you have within that company, via Kieran, you have Falcon Protection Services. Now, Falcon companies feature through various angles, coming in from my wife's father, coming in from Trevor Mealham, who my wife's father directed me to when this all started as part of a deception to distract me and scare me off from continuing. So we now have another Falcon Protection Services Limited company. And here's Trevor Mealham. So we're going to now do some research in relation to Trevor Mealham, because he was also working on the with the rapid response teams, okay, as part of this international collaborative deception. And they were trying to, I believe, trying to divert and trying to make it seem as though they were doing something, but actually using themselves to capture those being drawn into thinking they're doing something right and silence individuals, because they're not stopping the evictions. And remember, I've allowed this evidence to them, to have meetings with them, to show them how to look for the evidence, to expose the illegal bailiffs, illegal mortgage companies, illegal debt companies, illegal councils, and they refused and blocked me out of the group instead. This was a few months ago. So what we'll do, we'll look at Trevor Mealham and go from there, and you will see some pretty unbelievable information linking into my wife's family again, linking into police officers that I worked with in a particular squad, and linking into various evidence going in through that, including some very concerning information tying into islands and to Richard Branson and the Virgin Foundation. Thanks very much. Bye.